hidden, forgotten. This is Harbor Town.
You right there, Marco? You look beat up today.
No, I'm good.
It's called watching the Eagles game.
Yeah, what happens?
Harbor Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scene. Unique, flexible, and playable. Harbor Town will take your games to it.
I mean, they're terrible to begin with, but it's just exacerbated by how terrible.
So you swung through the orders, Mark, for Thanksgiving?
I just actually took another set for 3 more. So I've got, I delivered 1 set already, and then have actually all my own stuff to do, and then just got another order for 3. And there's supposed to be one more that's coming. So, and then
keep you busy.
Oh yeah.
From the edge of the
Well,
sea,
and then of course
from
I
the
have my
edge
charity
of
event coming up
time,
in a few weeks. So
back into
Shots
destination.
for kids, thing with that one?
yeah, Toys for Shots.
Forgotten. This is Harbor Town.
How long have you been doing that one now, Mark?
Well, this year is our 11th year, and I jumped on in year
Harbor
2.
Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scenery. Unique, flexible, and playable. Harbor Town will take your game.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable.
Wow, Jay, I tell you, the old Bancroft property looks pretty sad.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's all the Bancroft's closed. So it's like it's all boarded up and overgrown.
That sucks. Sucks big time.
Yeah, our game was like right behind me. We were right up the hill from the lake.
That's such
From
a
the
shame.
edge of the sea, from the edge of time, back into destination. Ancient, hidden, forgotten. This is Harbor Town. Harbor Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scenery. Unique, flexible, and playable. Harbor Town will take your games to a new destination.
Let's transition.
Chris.
Here we come. Tom's on the boat. Get some players. Transition. Look. Woo. Phase in. Phase out. It worked. Kind of like wax on, wax off. How's everyone this evening? Thanks a lot, guys, for hopping on. I see Tom on. I see Lo on. Imagine we'll get some other people hopping on here shortly. I know Tom can re-up, so that's a good thing. So how's everyone tonight, man? What a horrible game that is, isn't it?
It was turn it off quality.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that leads into a good thing. We can talk about a horrible game, and then we can talk about a land that gets beat up all the time in our campaign, the Shieldlands, right?
The redheaded stepchild of the world.
It is. In our campaign, it kind of is, but that's kind of a fun thing or a good thing. So we're gonna. Hey, there's Tom. Hey, hit that resubscribe button, dude. So I hope all is well with everyone. I know. I hope all is well with Tim's parents. Say a prayer for them. they were in a vehicle accident, and Tim's dealing with that. So if he may hop on, we'll see. He's dealing with some things. So I always hope for the best for him. Hey, there's Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Jeff with those bright subscriber buttons now. You know what I mean? He's got some big buttons now, which is kind of cool. So I'll say this: I was looking forward to this one a lot. I know when our most successful events discussions tend to be locations, and so the Shieldlands. You go back a long time ago when the map came out, and it's like, oh, that's a cool name for a place, right? When the first Greyhawk Map came out, but it really wasn't much about it at all, really. Nothing, really. And then, all the way back from day one, you got to give Mark credit. Mark had the Gradivises always coming from the Shieldlands, right?
That's right.
So you're like the first one. You were like the first one I can recall in the campaign, because when we started out in the old days, everyone was from the Wild Coast or Celine. It wasn't that far, if you're a dwarf, you're from the Lort Mills. We kept it really tight. And, in the beginning, so I got to give you credit. We'll go back into the early '80s before any box sets are out or anything like that, and the Shieldlands were, your forte there with the Gradivises. So,
and it was real simple. So if you actually look at the original lithography and box set of Greyhawk, and you looked at the alignment streams, Lawful Good came from the Shieldlands.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So it just meant that a lot of the characters I was playing at the time, obviously being related and so forth, they were Lawful Good characters, so it just made sense.
Huh.
At that time. So that's kind of the origin of why I chose the Shieldlands.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Where was that reference?
That's in the original box set. There's a there's a whole area inside the original Greyhawk box set that talks about alignments and the different areas that alignments are assigned to.
Now, you talking about the folio or the Free City Greyhawk box set?
No, the folio. The original.
Folio.
Original box set.
Huh, I never noticed that, man. But that's cool. Hey, that's a reasonable explanation for it. When we were young kids, is Lawful Good here. So,
yep.
And WoW has things changed over the years, but kind of in a good way.
Chaotic Evil, except for one little spot.
Not really. I mean, we got the map in the lower right below me here, and it's like a third now recovered for the most part.
Sure.
Right? You got, if you look at this map, and so just a quick synopsis, you have Critwall and Scryholm Island, and you can barely, let me see if I can move Ad Munford up a hair here, because he really gets cut off. Right, so Ad Munford's part, there you go. All right, so you got Ad Munford, Axeport's been liberated, and this whole middle area is where we've been adventuring recently, and we'll talk about that. So, it's been working forward, and with timelines, and, yeah, absolutely. It's been a cool place, and we've been back and forth with it for years, and I was trying to find all the adventures, the ones I remember related to the Shieldlands. I know there was other ones I missed, but I got them down. So a lot of people don't even know where it is on the Greyhawk map. That's how sometimes it gets overlooked, insignificant it is. It's not like Furiundi or the Great Kingdom, or Keeland even. You know what I mean? It's like, because on the map, some maps it doesn't have shieldlands right on top of the area. So a lot of people don't even realize where it is, and we kind of used it before all the shit broke loose there, and there was all these conflicts in all the box sets too, and we'll talk about that in a second. But and that's why I put down in my notes. I put down why so important or not. It's a big thing, but there's a lot of, it's like the front line of good versus evil of the fighting going on right now. Because when you think about it, Furiundi and Valuna and even High Folk, Vespi Forest, Vias and stuff in the east we don't even deal with. We don't even use the eastern side of the map. So you got this is the front line for like battles going on in our campaign, which is really cool. So, Bill, what's your earliest memory? No matter how weird or insignificant it is, I bet you I know which one it is.
Oh. Boy, it's I don't remember, because until we really started doing, at least my earliest remembrance is starting up the later groups, the Keep group.
No, I mean when you saw something in the Shieldlands, you weren't even playing. That was what I was thinking.
Not that I can remember.
Over at the apartment in Barrington.
No.
Yeah.
Unless it was somebody's shield that had the Shieldland symbol.
Fortress Elendar.
What's that?
David Gradovis charging.
When you got
the battle system.
Battle system rules, yeah.
Yeah.
Charge the pikemen.
Exactly. Yeah.
And why would you charge the pikemen? Because.
Yes. Why not? Yes. And all the we couldn't in battle system. You couldn't do anything to the halflings. They were impossible to kill.
Yes, the halfling archers and slingers, right?
Yeah. So if we look at the earliest large scale, and I can find is adventure number 186, which you figure, oh wow, 186 adventures in, but we did Temple, we did all sorts of stuff before then. Shieldlands Defense / Fortress Elendar. Now I kind of remember how this came about and how we tied this in, because something weird happened. I don't know where it happened, but you get the this is the one thing I didn't understand in the Free City Greyhawk box set. And Mark, you probably agree with me on this. You get the box set, you open it up, and it says the Shieldlands have been conquered by the Horn Society and the Bandit Kingdoms.
Okay, so they weren't necessarily like completely conquered, but they were constantly at war with them.
It says, I looked it up, it says Valderessa and Arthur are 6 knights there on representation after they fled. Most of the Shieldlanders fled to Furiundi, but they made it to Greyhawk. That's what it says. I was like, what?
Really?
Yeah, look it up. I was like, wow, that's strange. So it went from that to, he is reconquered. It's a strange little quirk. Yeah, look in your box set. Yeah. And take a look at it, and I'm thinking to myself, wow. And so, but what we did to go after that was we did this adventure called Shieldlands Defense, and we put Fortress Elendar. And if you look at the map, Fortress Elendar on our map sits right where the plague fields are right now on this map. Right below White Plume Mountain is exactly where I put it. So really, it's probably there surrounded by the plague fields. In the and that's probably a pretty funny thing, but that's where we placed the Fortress Elendar campaign adventure in the Shieldlands. It was right near due south of White Plume Mountain, which is technically in the Bandit Kingdoms. So and we did that adventure, and the adventure was to stop off the this invasion coming, and it was mostly Bandit Kingdoms at that time from this side, if you remember, and then we did to recap, and you wanted to assist recapture and open up Fortress Elendar as a defense for the area. That was the whole idea of that adventure. And we're talking, my God, what year? Are we talking 92? 91, 92?
90, probably 93, actually.
Okay. It was early on, so that's when you were in that apartment. Thinking about it, yeah. So that adventure was the only one that I can recall that we did to address that situation out of the Free City Greyhawk box set. So, it was fun. It was fun because everyone loves Fortress Eldar, and it's on our Wall of Fame. So, and it's a third-party software. It's a third-party, module that came out. So, another really cool thing. And I think that was the second time I ran it, but I remember Tim ran it for me for Hawk and Gazumba, and so a classic Tim adventure as well, doing that. So, that's very early in the Shieldlands, but we don't get to like what's going on in the Shieldlands now until Adventure 218, which isn't that, I guess, that long ahead. It's called The Advances of Evil, and this was the adventure that I just did a synopsis before we even started it of everything that was going on in the Greyhawk Wars, what happened, what Eos did, where he advanced on, because From the Ashes threw wrenches into everything we were doing. We already had relationships, and look, the picture's up right now of Artur and Valderess, and it's like, oh, she's dead. Yeah. A great one of the best characters that we had that we were working with. They just killed her off, along with a lot of other people, like Grimry Fisher and a couple. They burned down old Mother Grubs on us. A lot of things. We did it ourselves. So thank you, Salen. But and on that one, but yeah. So so that was where we implemented From the Ashes at 218. So what happens? Homer gets captured. The Shieldlands does get completely overtaken, and we had Holy Shielding. That's basically they had their base up on the top of Greyhawk City. They went bankrupt. Our organization, the Order of Yuluk, bought the entire building from them, and we put our headquarters in Greyhawk City in their building, but out of the kindness of our hearts, we gave them half of the building back, and, we have...
So I've always wondered why we even interjected in. So what was the story behind that?
Well, you mean why the Order of Yuluk? Because that's the main cause of good in our campaign, right?
No. I understand that, but I guess what I'm asking is where did the whole concept of going and buying the building come from?
It came from a spot where it says, and there's notations From the Ashes all over the place, that the Knights of the Holy Shielding are trying to raise money. They're bankrupt. They need, to get forces to start retaking the Shieldlands. And I was thinking, oh, well, this is a great idea. We need a building in the Order of Yuluk needs a building in Greyhawk. So we'll just buy the Knights of the Holy Shielding building.
So all right, so that makes a lot more sense because I've always kind of wondered why even decided to do that. I mean, because I knew Gazumba was in power at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a really cool idea because it's basically a joint now. There's the line in the middle that Corellia. Bill Allenfeld, not this Bill, the other Bill's character, especially Priestess of Uko / Paladin dual class, is basically cloistered in there. She was an adventurer, but that player doesn't play anymore, so now she's the head representation for the Order of Yuluk in Greyhawk City, and she really doesn't like Shieldlanders on her side. She hates Shieldlanders, so she painted like a line right down the middle of the building. Kind of comical. But yeah, that's where that came from. So, the Shieldlands were completely decimated from that. And so you're looking at a time frame that we did a lot of adventures, a lot of like small stuff. We didn't go grand scale. I always thought, and the reason I think about this for a while was I thought that they were going to undo some of the stuff pretty quickly, and they didn't. Because really nothing came out after that, After From the Ashes, it went kind of dead for a bit. Right. So now the Greyhawk hardback book that came out before From the Ashes, if I recall, right?
Which
hardback
book?
the hardback World of Greyhawk book that has all the different spells from Tensor and Alaluk and stuff.
Oh yeah. That came out before From the Ashes because in the From the Ashes. You have the whole Circle of Eight that's completely disrupted.
Right. Yeah, and that's another thing. I think we're talking 93 in this range, 93, 94, Tom. That's a good question. I think that's when we're talking. I think that's the year we're talking roughly. when we implemented it. I think it came out a little earlier. I think From the Ashes came out 89, 90, 91 in that realm, but we didn't implement it because we had other things going on beforehand that we wanted to finish up. So we waited to do it, and then I implemented it all at once because then we started doing we had some super high level characters everyone wanted to play, a lot of Nighty Look stuff. So we really wanted to get some stuff against EAs, which we did all over the place. We had the Vespi Forest campaign, we had stuff in Free Undie Border. We kind of left the Shieldlands alone though, for the most part. I think a lot of that, I hate to be a jerk about it, but was busting on Mark. The Gradavis family was kind of like the family that had no home.
Sure. That's okay.
No, it's kind of true. I mean, come on. We all know that the Gradavises have been the whipping boys for a long time. Because what was Bill's favorite line to say early on when we first started playing?
I love David Gradavis. I hate David Gradavis.
That was Islandfell. But what would Bill the Crafter say? He'd go, "I'm not David Gradavis." He always would say that. So
I will honestly say that I have some memories about asking you specifically about running stuff up there, and having David and Railstone meet up with what at the time the only person that you would allow me to talk to was Fonkin.
Yeah.
You didn't want to be bothered with it, and Fonkin of course blew them off and said, "Oh yeah, we'll
I
look
remember
into
that. Yeah.
I
remember that.
And the funny part was that it was at the time before even From the Ashes became available, and
right.
they were just reaching out to say, look, if we don't do something about the Horn Society and the Bandit Kingdoms up there, they're going to potentially overrun Greyhawk. They're going to start heading south, and we're going to have some problems. And then they blew everything up anyway. So it was kind of like foresight that actually happened.
I am omnipotent. I knew it. No, I don't. It was just plain luck. It was all. But I just found it strange. Go into your Go into your Greyhawk, the original Greyhawk City box set, and look under a Beautiful People section. Look under Valderest. Look under Archer in that area, and it'll tell you exactly. The whole synopsis kind of, which we didn't know where it came from, but so Valderesta gets killed off From the Ashes. We undid that. Didn't happen in our campaign. Number one, big thing. Also with for the Fellowship of the Torch, Grimmy Fisher didn't get killed out of Greyhawk either. So that there are two big things. So we there's a couple of things we did not implement in the From the Ashes set. The killing off of Tensor, absolutely, absolutely, and that had a big effect on things. All right, so here's a question. Who's the most famous Shieldlander native in the campaign? Hey,
player character or NPC character?
It could be either.
The most famous?
Yeah.
Stasha Silvercheck.
Randall White.
No. An NPC. An NPC. Definitely renowned NPC. Hey, the Naz is on, Sprocket's on.
Got me.
No, it's definitely not Michael Baton, because he is not from the Shieldlands.
The answer is Turin Deathstalker.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Right.
That counted, yes.
Yeah. So Turin Deathstalker's actually...
I was thinking...
Well, no, he's a shield. I said native Shieldlander. I mean, Henry Coram would have... I'm sorry, Mark. Would have been the second, but... So we won't even... if we get there, we'll talk about that. But, yeah, so... some things, like I said, the purchase happened of the building, some things that, we changed out. But so we started, and I look back at memorable adventures in the Shieldlands after the From the Ashes implementation. So, and guys, if you have any questions, I know we got a lot of the regulars on tonight, some others, please just feel free to ask them. This is a chat, man. Like I said, this is a great area to do some adventuring in. Low level, high level.
Oh, sure. It's great now. Yeah, it wasn't great 20 years ago when I...
Come on, I was much more pig-headed back then.
No, it's fine. Busting balls. That's all.
Yeah. Did you ever think, by the way, did you ever think David Gravis would ever get married to Ashley Winchester? No.
No. Well, and I'll tell a funny story behind that later.
Absolutely. That's cool. But so I looked back and I couldn't find anyone until 383, and that's the Free Reavers, which is, and I was talking to our special guest for next week last night. We were talking for about 3 hours, and it came up, and she's like, I've never used them. I said, you're really missing out on a great opportunity. So if you guys look on the map here, okay, and I can't point, but if you go down the river and you see like where it V's off to the left, and there's a road dropping down in the Horn Society, and there's a square, that's Smokewall Castle. And that is the Free Reavers headquarters. They control everything from 20 miles around that. They hold court with no one. They behold to no one. Eas, old ex-hierarchs, no one. And the Free Reavers are cool. They're in the there's 2 of them. Only 2 of them are actually written down, but I made up a whole bunch of other ones, including one that was an amalgamation of all the people we disliked that played over the last 20 years. The 2 that are mentioned is Eldrin Bloodspitter. He's a specialty priest of Erythnol, and my favorite of all time, Sharon Vel-Valinar. And she's like in the book, she's a 14th level fighter, and she's famous for her Sharon smile. So if anyone knows what a Sharon smile is, it's kind of like Colombian. She likes giving people Sharon smiles. But she is very chaotic evil. But they are just beholden to no one. But they raid into the Shieldlands all the time. And I remember this adventure because it's the last adventure I ran Gazumba on as an NPC, actually active playing. And that was the one where you went into the teleport and you started to fight them, but only one person came in every round. And you guys were stuck with like barely anyone in there early on. I think Marcus was on that adventure, if I recall, Bill.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think you had...
I think that's the one. Did you have Hawk and Gazumba in there, and everyone made fun of the Q Cavalier Paladin who only did minimal amount of damage?
Yeah, and Naz, yes. Here's the thing. Events before David Gravis' wedding, it takes place, and it was a mega adventure. It was the mega adventure I decided to do broadcasting that I'd been planning forever. Mark had come back from Ohio, and you're correct. And that is the one. All the pictures up now on the screen in the upper right are terrain pictures from that adventure. And that's all, and we're going to get to that. But that, yeah, absolutely, that's the Shieldlands adventure that we did very early on in our broadcasting. Yes, good pickup on that. So, yeah, the Free Reavers are nasty people, and we played a lot of high-level characters. And Mark, I think you had Swain on that, didn't you?
Probably.
And didn't he Retributive Strike in that one?
No.
I think he.
If that's the one that had Dalrin and
I think I had Dalrin in on that. I think Dalrin
was that one?
Yeah, and Wayne drew Derek Reese. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that would have been the Retributive Strike.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was a memorable adventure. And then, all right. So we had 2 adventuring groups that are now in the Shieldlands. We have one's called the Legion, which is like the second and most powerful adventuring party behind the Iron Brigade in Greyhawk, but they moved out. So I couldn't get my map up with all my handwritten notes on that without it looking fuzzy. I don't know why, but I got the map here. So they actually own a keep, and you can barely see it, but see there's 2 dots right there. There's a winery and a keep right on the border. Okay, right there on the river. That's the Legion's keep, and the Legion's the winery, which was an adventure. I'm looking here. The Haunting of Kinsep Mansion, right, with all the werewolves. You got that one, and so you guys are basically the foil to the Free Reavers now, because you're really not that far from them. And then the second adventure group is called the Shieldlanders because we started them. That was the group we set to specifically go into the Shieldlands and help with the Knights of the Holy Shielding, and Bill's main character's a Knight of the Holy Shielding, right? You're a Cavalier, but you're actually a member of the Knights of the Holy Shielding. And I have Amelia Rothschild, and we got a whole bunch of Crusaders and stuff. And that group is called the Keep Group / the Shieldlanders. I don't know. Do we ever remember why they were called the Keep Group, though?
Because they did the revisited version of People in the Borderlands.
Exactly. You're out. Thank you. Yes, we put keep on the Borderlands actually in the Shieldlands for that, and you're absolutely
Yeah,
correct.
closer to the Bandit Kingdom side, I think.
Return
Yeah.
to the keep on the Borderlands, right? The 25th anniversary edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a good. The Naz, they are a very they just take what they want and they raid all over the place. They raid in the Free Undy, they raid in the Free Reavers, they raid in the Shieldlands, and they just take. It's kind of like a Walking Dead raiding group when you think about it. And you know, if you're in real life fantasy future world, that's exactly what they're doing. So, yeah, absolutely. But they're, like you said, 14th level fighters with 11th level fighting henchmen running around is pretty nasty in Greyhawk, absolutely. So, so the Shieldlander / Keep group did Siege of Durgam's Folly, which is on the road, which is halfway on the road up to Axport, right? That's about a third of the way up. And Durgam's Folly was a Necromancer Games module we loved, and it had all these automaton things in it. You had to clear it out, and then that became a Night of the Holy Shielding Keep from that point, and a wave station point. That was adventure 437. You did that, and then I remember pushing toward Axport. Was that the one or land clearing near Axport? The one where the first round, Sasha got hit with a critical hit with an arrow in the neck and got killed.
Oh boy,
There's Anna.
it might have been Jay. I don't remember. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but it was one of those two. So
Yeah, because the orcs were on the top of the hill, fortified hill location.
right, absolutely. So.
Yeah.
Really? That's funny, Sprock. That's a funny story. So he thought he was related to the nobility. He was related to a bunch of Free Reaver type thieves. So we got a special guest watching right now, and we will talk about that in a little bit as to where that goes and who she is. Hopefully she'll stick on around for a little bit and see what we're about. Thank you for watching here. We really appreciate it. So, yeah, those two were clear. So, Axport was acclaimed. Now, there was a small adventure I did that a lot of people don't know about. It was a one-on-one solo with Walt. And Lena actually went and convinced Vane, who was to leave Adam Munford free. So when the Freelandian Navy came, they would just go in, and it was it was kind of like a little behind-the-scenes kind of thing. So Lane actually convinced Vane to turn. Now remember, we just saw Vane multiple times in the last 10 adventures. We saw him multiple times, yeah, she convinced him to do that. So that they recaptured Ad Munford, recaptured Axport, and then you recaptured Durgam's Folly, and then the one that I remember, and I'm going to scroll through real quick here because these are great paint jobs. All right, let me get through here real quick. All right, here we go. And of course, this is the 90s, guys. Please remember this. And I do a lot of pop culture things that maybe people can consider kind of stupid nowadays. There we go. Okay, so you have three figures here. You have a dark-skinned vampire hunter type guy, a guy with a shotgun who's a specialty priest of Merlin, and you got Panzershek, one of the Lesser Boneheart. He is priest. Painted them all up. Oh, there's David Gradivus and Ashley Winchester, all betrothed now. So you had them, and it was an adventure called Master of the Grave. Now this is the first time ever I used the Grave Master that we saw in David Gradivus' wedding. So It turns out this scout guy named Eric, whose nickname is Blade, and his buddy Whistler. So he turns out to be a Damphir, a daywalker kind of guy. He's got the blood of vampirism in him. They directed you, and you had to take out a zombie, Grave Master the first time in this adventure. I'm thinking I want to think it was either Legion people, or I didn't look it up. Legion or Shieldlander people.
I'm pretty sure it was Legion.
Yeah.
I
I remember it was
think it
nasty.
was one of their first adventures when they went north.
That's a great figure, Sprocket, man. Yeah, that's cool. See, all right, so we have Merlin specialty priests. If anyone knows, it's basically Clint Eastwood, right? Picture of Clint Eastwood as the man with no name. It looks just like Merlin. So we allow smoke powder to work for them only. You know, or there's some very very rare firearm usage, especially Priest of Merlin at 10th level can actually get a firearm. You know, so that's what he is, especially Priest of Merlin. So he has that shotgun, and you know, just the figures are dead on. I mean, I was so shocked that I found figures, and Bill was kind enough to paint them up for us. So Master of the Grave was 467. Land Clearing near Axport was 461. Then we did the big one, 514. We've talked about this in a couple episodes. Was Oligarchy of the Shieldlands, the Ravagers. And I made this into a two-parter, and we all remember this because of how infamous one of our other players was acting during it. So what this was for anyone, and we talked about this in the events before David Garvis' wedding when it came up, that the 10 years was over. They had to decide, because they had taken so much land back, how the government was going to be. So they decided they're going to take some Knights of the Holy Shielding, some members, associate members, and they voted on, first they voted on a monarchy. We had a whole bunch of player characters involved. I had a whole bunch of NPCs. A lot of them were scrolling on the right side of this, like Templar Lugo's up right now. A high-level paladin, basically the hero of we'll get to that as well too. There's Lady Katarina Walworth. She is Homer's niece. Very cool character. So it turns out the vote went for Katarina, Valderessa, and David Gravis to basically be a three-panel oligarchy to make all decisions, and that they would have a 5-year term with a 5-year auto renewal with just a sound vote if everyone was okay with that, and that's how it went. So this is 10 years ago in game time, Adventure at 514. So Bill Eilenfeld's character, Ajun, Bill had an issue where he would just drink. Not the Bill here, the other Bill, Mr. Happy Bill. And he was so plastered by the end of it. He was slurring, and he was for David Gravis at the beginning, and he was cursing at him at the end of the night. It was one of the funniest things we've ever seen. I don't think he stuck around for the second half.
No, he didn't.
I think that it might have been like really close to the end for him too.
Yeah, but he it's a shame because I mean, you know, he had put some really cool neat concepts and stuff. So Ajun did pop up in the adventure we did just recently, and he was still having his drinking issues, and you know his fiance had left him, Nienna, and so he was a mess. But so they had in that adventure, the Ravagers had appeared in some supplements, and I always thought that they based the Ravagers. I have no proof of this, and if anyone out there knows, I think that the Ravagers were basically an organization like the Free Reavers, but on a grander scale, and they were more nomadic types. That's what I thought, that because they both worship Erethnol, I thought that that's where they came from. But you had a group of Ravagers running roughshod through the Shieldlands. You had to stop them. That was a cool, hard adventure. I remember, and they were just slaughtering. You know, that's all they do is recklessly slaughter people. Bill's a big fan of theirs.
Your cries for pity only make me more angry.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the big one as far as politically. And that really started off with the tension between a lot of members of the Order of the Holy Shielding and then the Order of Ulick. Because all the Gradivuses are Order of Ulick members, you know, and of course we, for the cause of good and all the flanness, we stick our noses in places some people don't want us to stick our noses in places. So basically David and Railstone, Mark's characters, are up there, and they're basically members almost of both organizations, kind of in an honorary status with the Holy Shielding. And that really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, particular two characters who were who?
Randall White.
Randall White for one.
Randall White and his sidekick.
Chet, no.
Yeah.
Chet Bluegrass?
Chet Bluegrass, yes. So, just to go over, at this time, Randall White's 11th level Cavalier. Chet Bluegrass is an 8th level Saxon at this time, 10 years ago in game time. Sasha's 8th level Cavalier. And then you had some of the other people on the sidebar here coming up. There's Mother Annan, 10th level specialty priestess of Heronius. And that's where I wanted to come to. So we merged in something into the game, which is a really great reference. I'm going to show this to everyone. If you can get a hold of one of these, you can place this anywhere. It has great Specialty Priest of Heronius 2nd edition info, and has great Specialty Priest of Hexter information in it. Plus, it actually has some keeps. It's this one, and it's really, someone really got creative. Came out like 99. So this is called Bastion of Faith. When they 2nd edition, they made a lot of miscellaneous. Well, there you go. I'm going the wrong way. A lot of miscellaneous references they didn't want to place anywhere. If you look real closely on this, they put a picture of Mel Gibson here guarding the main priestess, right, from Braveheart. I mean, it's plain as day. But this is a great reference, Bastion of Faith. So a lot of the they say in the module to place it in crit wall. So in the center of crit wall is called the Shield Reclaimed. It's a large pillared tower. So when crit wall is the first area basically to get reclaimed by the Knights of the Holy Shielding. I kind of merged these two groups together. I didn't take all the personalities out of here because there's too many of them, but I took 3 of them. I took Templar Lugo, Mother Anna, and Mother Phala. So Mother Phala is kind of your intermediary to that organization, and and I know a lot of the characters hit on her all the time too, right? You know, that's why I got to deal with that all the time.
Well, it's Gert's woman. You don't touch her.
Yeah. I know, Kerrig's got, yeah, exactly.
He plays chess with her regularly.
But it's a great reference, and I bet you could get it it's not one of those that's going to cost you a lot of money out there, and it's really got some fantastic magic items in here, too. So I would recommend that. It's got a Catacombs maps, it's got all sorts of neat stuff in there. And for us who do Specialty Priests, we're able to develop Hexter and Heronius right out of this with little modification. So that worked. So we kind of combined some references to the Knights of the Holy Shielding and this book into what the Order of the Holy Shielding is at this point in it. So you had the key members of the Order of Holy Shielding at this point. You had Katarina, Walworth. Let me scan through here quick. I'm gonna do a quick scan through here. So I'll put them up. Yeah, there's Lady Katarina Walworth. Okay. On the right, you have Inco C. Now, a lot of these were in third edition, where they had specialty. You had your prestige classes. So he was a ranger, and he was the Knight of the Holy Shielding. He was dual class. Whoops, I missed Fran's Storykeep. I went over him. He was a 12th level Knight of the Holy Shielding. Lamanda Ermad, a 10th level Specialty Priest of Heronius. And then you get and there's Mother Annan, you got Mother Phala, and then you got Templar Lugo, and they're the main ones we use. They're like, you could be sort of canon, non-canon, but pre-published NPCs. Randall White and Chet Bluegrass are my own creation, of course. So there's a lawful neutral recapture, and I was talking with Anna about this last night. She has them. Who are the people up in WoW where you had the taint of the scourge on you, Bill?
The Argent Dawn?
The Argent Dawn. She has them, and there's this cool idea. The Argent Dawn is like, everyone you got to kill. It's our way or the highway, right? True lawful neutral, maybe with good tendencies, but that's kind of like the way she has them all. We kind of had Randall White and Chet Bluegrass like that. Their only goal is to recapture the Shieldland. So Mark, what do you give me some? Give me not the recent one. Give me some old school memories of Randall and Chet. Like,
the ones that I remember, honestly, you just brought them in as more of
annoyance.
Yeah, it was just more annoyance. It was more role play than anything else. It was just how they would shoot their mouths off about the Legion or the Iron Brigade. It just you just bring them in just to be your replacement, my opinion, for Funkin. Funkin was just always that in the for the Knights of Ulick. There was just always this real ass character that would always come out. Just to give you your creative license to just annoy the hell out of us.
Right.
And Randall White was definitely that, and I know that he was under Bill's skin.
So
he gets under my skin.
for,
Of course, then again, the last adventure, a lot of people got under his skin.
Yes.
so for any of you who are on a PC and can see it, you scroll below our screen. I have a Twitch Picks poll up, okay? And that poll, there's polls and then there's general questions. It's 10 questions. Please feel free to take it. But as you look on the first one, who is the most hated character in the campaign? Randall White is on that list. Now, some of you may not know the people because it's not in canon. And, you know, you can always skip that question.
Right.
But they're all people right out of our campaign. You know, everyone hates Michael Baton, but Randall White's up there. He got 2 votes already. So, and all of Alan's PCs only got 1 vote. So, but yeah, so you have some. You have some. But feel free to take that when you get a chance, and you know, like I said, there's no, if you get some, it's no big deal. But there's some stuff about the campaign, the order of your look, like where we are, where we're located. You may not know, but who cares? That's all right. But I was just curious on some things, classes, old school classes, alignments. Just wanted to ask that, and so just feel free to take that at your leisure. I'll do some more of them later on now that I figured out how to use it. So. Like I said, there's a lot of cool supplemental things on Twitch. I'm trying and explain. I'm working on getting. We're getting there. We're getting there on figuring out things. So yeah, you're right. You're right. Randall and Chet, but Chet was always getting captured. You know, you always had to rescue Chet. And I remember the adventure with the 2. You had and it's Master of the Grave, but you had the male and female ghosts that were good, that were guarding the keep. And I remember they had to tell you where to go find Chet in that one too, because he had gotten captured. So Chet was kind of the bumbling sidekick for Randall, and Randall's the guy who thinks he knows better than anyone else, right? So, but that organization, I think, needs that because they've always had a lot of failures, right? It's not all rosy with the Order of Holy Shielding. So I think that he personifies that issue where he's going to do the wrong thing, and we definitely saw that in Events Before David Gradavis's Wedding, Adventure 823. What happens, and so
reminds me. The character itself reminds me in if you anybody who does fantasy reading, if you've actually read the Dragonlance novels, in the very first series, there was a character by the name of Derek Crownguard, who
Stormguard, wasn't it?
Maybe it was Stormguard,
right?
Might have been, but at any rate, he had that same kind of mentality, and in the book, he basically leads a charge thinking that he's in the right of doing something, and ends up getting everybody slaughtered in the grand scheme of things. But and it's kind of the same thing. It's not even like we talk about the worshippers of Foltus. In their mind, they're right.
Yeah.
And I really believe that in Randall's mind, he's right. And the thing I appreciate the most is that you would never doubt his devotion to the Shieldlands whatsoever.
No, absolutely correct.
Absolutely. But you would never doubt that he has the Shieldlands at heart.
That's absolutely true. That's 100%. I mean, you're dead on that, Mark. So, but there's ways to go about things. So, and there's ways that with us with the political strife, because David's right in the middle of it. How dare a member of the Order of Ulick be one of the oligarchy in the Shieldlands, even though he's a native Shieldlander, right? So, and that was a bug in him for the longest time, and I played on that, in every adventure. And then Blade and Whistler would come along and say, "You guys got to go here and bail them out now. You got there's trouble." And that's how I used them. I never had them fight or anything. They were always the scouts for you guys, right. And he go, "Well, you got to go here now," and we
just captured again.
Yeah, exactly. But it really didn't come to a head till later on. Now here's another one. I don't remember anything about it. But I had to have said I'm gonna. Yes, Anna, thanks a lot, and we really appreciate you coming in and watching. I really appreciate the discussion we had last night, and I'm gonna make a big announcement probably in 45 minutes. So that's okay. Yeah. So like I said, we are honored to have you watching. Absolutely. So adventure number 592, House Ill Serves, which is the highest house rated in our campaign for Dark Elves in the Shieldlands. I don't. I looked for some notes. I couldn't find anything on it. And what I'm thinking is, I took another adventure and I modified it, put it in there, and they must have had some. I think, if I recall correctly, because they are elder elemental god worshippers, and I talked about that last night too. So they wanted to try to make a play in the area to put to a thorn in the side of Iaz and take over an easy pickings area in the Shieldlands, if I recall that adventure, but I can't remember that much on it. I guess it wasn't that memorable.
Yep.
But my thinking is that was the Shieldlander group again. I don't think that was the Legion, but I could take a look at that.
I don't know that one at all.
Now, here are two adventures we did that really had nothing to do at all with the political strife in the well, kind of did, but if anyone remembers, one of the great computer games that came out in the mid-90s was Neverwinter Nights, right? It was fantastic. It did a lot of third edition stuff, prestige classes, and Rand and I were talking again about the Arcane Archer in there and how nasty they are. But we went through, and you could make up your own modules, your own games, your own adventures. And a lot of people did some stuff that was. I remember U1 was done to the Salt Marsh was done dead on. I was so impressed by it. But this one guy made up a thing called the Horde. And what it was there were generators way back for and the first one was the Horde Orcs. There was generators for humanoids, right? And they would come, and you had to destroy those generators and then move up, move up, move up, move up. So I kind of modified that to a Shieldlands adventure, and we called it the Horde Orcs. And I think that was definitely the Shieldland / Keep group that did that one. I'm positive, because Amelia has some items that came out.
On all those were on it.
Yeah, because remember the Storm Armor came out of there and a lot of other things. So that was, and so we did that one. And then we did the Horde. That was number 447. Number 477 was the Horde Undead, which was a little nastier than that. And that one was a little more difficult to do, to convert over from a creative Neverwinter Nights game to an actual tabletop. But we did that one as well, and they were both the same group, and they were pretty neat. But I wouldn't want to run them again. It's a lot of management on that. But they were in the Shieldlands, so a lot of people don't realize that was a Shieldlands adventure. So, and then the last one was that I can say was just recent, 823 events before David Gradavis' wedding. Basically, David Gradavis, Ashley has finally said yes. One of my NPCs, one of the Winchesters. Ashley Winchester, for all these years, has finally said yes to David Gradavis. So basically, what happens before the wedding is what the adventure is about. A synopsis. I know the Naz saw it, and a lot of other people. So
yes, they are ushering in the Armageddon of the world.
Yes,
By having potentially a child that will be both Gradavis and Winchester.
For any of those who are new to watching,
Seventh seal has been broken.
My Winchesters, I have, who knows how many I have in NPCs. I consider them the Dunedain of the Keelan world.
Yeah.
So you'll run across them in the future. But Ashley and David are betrothed. But then Randall White comes up at the outdoor bar and says, "Your term is going to be up soon. I'm going to supplant you as one of the oligarchs. I'm taking this army up to Walrus Crossing, which, if you look on the map in the middle, where the three roads kind of meet two of them meet at the bottom, that's where it is. Straight up north of Axport. It's called Walrus Crossing. I made it up, but so when so the army disappears, and you get word from Eric and Whistler that they actually have come across this army of zombies." Just, all different types of zombies, and that they had slaughtered them. You followed behind the group. The first thing you found, Chet Bluegrass. He was missing like an arm and a leg, and you had to, and he was completely mauled. And he says, "Well, they slaughtered the army, and then we're partying at that all night. And then when dawn came, every zombie was back, and half the army was drunk or whatever, and they got slaughtered." And so that was part of that adventure, and that was my second use of a Grave Master, who turns out was who?
Vane.
Yep.
So what happened if you ever so Expedition of the Ruins of Greyhawk, Vane's in there. They kill Vane in that, but he has a carefully worded wish to come back as a powerful undead. He comes back as a grave master, and now is causing trouble in the area he was supposed to run and control all those years ago. The shield lands. He makes one last-ditch effort. Panjazek is actually there with a whole bunch of high-level demons just to watch and gloat. He gets a hold of Randall White, and Randall White gets completely ripped apart and all, but he's still alive. His tongue gets ripped out. All his limbs are removed.
Yes, he was the living embodiment of what Carrie always used as the pain.
The pain, absolutely. But it turns out that when you get there, there's in the church, there are 3 Fultus worshippers. One of them is Ernest Starand, which is the younger brother of Magnan Starand out of Greyhawk, and two other worshippers. They had 100 people. They have actually colonized Walrus Crossing and renamed it Light's Reclaimed Pillar for Fultus. And no one knew it because no one's been up there. It was an abandoned town, but they had to deal with the zombie army. There's only 3 of them left. Well, they ain't leaving. You guys tried to get them to leave. They wouldn't leave. They weren't leaving. Let me see if I got any pictures here.
They'll leave.
I threw the Fultus there. Okay, so if you see the scaffolding in that church, they're all holed up in that church in that picture right there. The 3 of them. And they also have Randall White in there too, in what remains of him, and they're caring for him as well in there. So they're saying, well, we have more Fultus worshippers coming. You know, we have more. We're going to hold this. No, we're not leaving. I know there's your whole adventure party. You got to kill us. And some of you were actually considering here. That's you fighting toward the church right there. This is the group going in the other direction toward the church. That had been turned into a Fultus church. There's a missioner with his quasi elemental out, and you guys were very frustrated. And I liked it throwing in that wrench a little bit. I was pretty cool. So not only did you have to deal with the Ias people and a grave master who didn't care from anyone, you had to deal with the Fultus people as well. And, the lawful neutral aspect of Fultus is very, very unforgiving. So they're like, this is our town now. And even there's only 3 of them
quite intriguing, too. It's a nice spin on the typical.
Well,
it's not necessarily black and white. It's their version, their perception of what's black and white.
Yes, well, that's yes, Naz, that's a good question. So here's where we left it. We left it with, they ended up, Panjashek was there just to gloat. So you guys fought, and there's some pictures coming up now of you fighting the demons and Panjashek. You basically won that fight. He word of recalls away because he's like, I'm just here as an observer and just to see, you guys don't even know what you're up against. You killed all those zombies. Now you got to figure out who's doing this before the dawn comes, or it's coming all back, and you guys, are going to be drained completely. So you figured it out. You found Vane, and dealt with him one last time. Hopefully, the last time you ever have to deal with Vane, right? So he's probably gone. But you guys left the 3 Fultus people in their church. You don't know what's going on now. I mean, they could have. Who knows? They could have 1,000 people there in town. So I had that down. You'll see that down a little bit where we have that. So Mark, tell your story. You wanted to talk about. This is a good time for that.
So to give a little bit of background, so David and Ashley were original adventuring mates in the Temple of Elemental Evil, actually.
Back in 1987.
Yes.
That's how old they are.
And those were days that when we actually went, you and I used to come down to Glassboro, and Walt and Gary played. It was on Tuesday nights. And, at the time, Walt's character, Prendergast, was with Ashley. Yes. And David always secretly was, pining for her and could never get up the nerve to say anything, because at the time, the character was, by design, was extraordinarily short. So David was actually 5'4".
Yeah.
And later on, as he started growing a little bit more, into the character and so forth, and gaining some confidence in himself, he, from time to time would just talk to Ashley to see how she was doing. Always like the thing that you see happen all the time. You know, every girl's friend but no girl's boyfriend kind of a thing.
Yeah, like you're my brother.
Ashley wouldn't. Yeah, you're like a brother to me. You know, that kind of a thing. And I specifically remember. I don't remember what event it was, other than it was a festival. And he finally had gotten up the nerve to walk over to Ashley, and everybody had been asking her about going out with them or and stuff. And he finally gets the nerve up, and he gets ready to walk up to her. And Boyd, Walt's gnome, just stops him, you know, right as he's walking up to her, and goes, "Oh my God, you're about as tall as I am."
That's
And
Walt's
he just
character.
completely lost his nerve, and he turned
gnome.
around and he just walked out.
Good old Walt with his gnomes.
So the interesting thing is now.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
that's a no just no. That's
Yep.
4 no just no's. Oh.
So
Good bust now.
essentially, in one of the last adventures that I actually ran David in, he somehow, I don't remember, but he managed to secure a wish, and he actually used it to grow a foot. So now instead of being 5'4", he's actually 6'4".
He could ask for world peace, but he got taller instead.
Exactly.
The things you guys do for love in this game.
Yep.
Bill had a character who made a wish that he appeared to be half elf, a half orc character, a half elf for a girl. So you guys will do a lot of things for women and you know, your characters, which I appreciate, man. It adds a lot of flavor to it. Adds a lot of fun to the whole role playing aspect on it. And you know, Ashley's been kind of a meandering character of mine, you know, for a long time. She's a younger sister of Andrea. What's that?
So many years. She's been a train wreck for so many years.
Yeah, well, she's younger. She lives in Andrea's shadow, right?
The younger sister of a greater person.
Yeah,
Yep.
and Andrea Winchester is like, you know, super powerful, third in command of the Order of Ulick now, and really doesn't take shit from anyone. Flies around on a dragon mount, even though she couldn't even help herself in defend her own keep. Really, in that adventure, I kind of made her a little, you know, inept, just because I wanted you guys to do all the work in that adventure a little while ago. 833 attack at Winchester's Bulwark to set up our new first level group coming up soon. But yeah, that was fun. But yeah, so you know, I knew you were coming back from Ohio, and I wanted to set up this major thing. And if you remember, when we first started broadcasting, I had it on the events thing like months in advance, this adventure. I put that on the events listing way in advance because I knew that when we were coming, I was going to do this. I had this grand plan for the Shieldlands adventure, and we did it. And it was a lot of fun. You know, your nemesis, I don't know what the proper discussion is on that, but Randall White got all mauled apart, and you actually felt pity for him and Chet. Yeah, you came across, you know, you dealt with Vane, and you ended up getting married, and they also changed the rules, so they reelected the 3 of you, Katarina and Valderessa and David, for one more 5-year term, but you must abdicate after these 5 years and choose 3 new oligarchs to take the place. And right now, that's what the search is for. Who will that be in the oligarchy taking your place? You know, and I haven't done the year change yet, so you still got the time. You know, we're about 1 year to 1 year now, real life so I'll be almost retired by the time that happens. So it's crazy, isn't it? So let's talk about some organizations in these Shieldlands.
Sure.
Some of the key ones. Of course, there's the Knights of the Holy Shielding, and something we have done is we created based off of, and it's evolved. I got notes everywhere, guys. It's evolved off of the Knights of the Rose and Heart, but we modified it. We have our own Knight, and it's in our main book. We have our own Knight of the Holy Shielding class. It's we got rid of prestige classes, and we just made it a class. So there's 3 different Knight classes: Knight of the Holy Shielding, Knight of Ulick, and Knight of the High Folk, Knight of the Hearts. There's 3. They all have their special abilities. So Knight of the Holy Shielding, they get priest spells. It's basically a hybrid Cavalier Paladin. No, I shouldn't say that. Fighter Paladin / Specialty Priest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they go up very slowly, but they get a lot of cool abilities. So you can actually play. Now you don't have to be this class to go into the Order of the Holy Shielding or the Order of Ulick, but you can be that special class itself. So, and all three of them are made up, and I'm more than willing to share them with anyone. You know, Mark, do any of your characters in your group play Knights yet? I don't think so, right?
No,
it's
no,
too,
we don't have any. We don't have any knights at this
It's
point.
very, very basic.
Yep. There's a real good question that Then
Yeah,
asked.
that's a great question, dude. That's a fantastic question. So, all right.
I'd like to know the answer to that as well.
That is a great question. All right. So, we've been playing together since we were kids, and you know who you play. You know who you have in your group, and when you get on this scale and you get to the high level characters who are in retirement age or high level. You want to keep them involved. You want to keep the campaign growing. You want to make it so it's an all-encompassing world. So even if you're playing another group, David's over here making decisions, right? So I'm completely comfortable with the players all of them, Walt, Tom, Alan, Mark, Bill, all. If I give them a character which has a decision-making ability, that it's not going to get out of the hands. And then, of course, if it does, I can crush it. So, right? I mean, you're the DM, so you can do.
Nice way of putting it.
Yeah, you can. I don't need to worry about it, because it's not like every adventure he's making a decision and we're doing this and our army's marching there forward. That's not the way we play. We play scenario-based adventures. So we're not in the Shield Lands. We're not doing, so I don't have to worry about it really. And that's a great question though. But you gotta know your players. And you gotta be playing with people for a while. I think for that type of grandiose scale to work. So yeah.
Well, and in an awful lot of ways too, the daily types of stuff that go on with holding a political office, we don't usually get into those mundane
the
details.
minutia. Yeah.
Just because, and even our style of play, getting into the minutia of everything, like, we don't get into, like, keeping track of rations or keeping track of, it's just assumed that you have already made all the provisional decisions it is that you need to in order to survive. Those kinds of things. Because otherwise it just gets to be too bogged down.
Yeah.
And it's not fun for anybody.
And once again, that's from years of playing together. You know. I mean, if you're a DM and you get into the minutia of things, and your players aren't having fun with it, then you're going the wrong direction. Yeah. But maybe some of your players have fun with it. And so I will say it again. Every Gabbin, I have to say it. I know Leonard Lakofka would love it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He's into but. Once again, a true first edition guy, is into the minutia of things, and that's okay. Every group's different, and like I said, every style's different. We play 1E, 2E. It's a hybrid with custom rules. There's a lot of 5 years out there. I know Anna's watching, plays Pathfinder, which I found amazingly cool. So, and whatever you play, whatever edition you play, it's still D&D, right? And Greyhawk can fit into any of them. So, yeah, exactly, Anna. Give Leonard a spreadsheet and he's good to go. It's definitely entertaining on that end, and we like. I always try to mention Leonard once every episode we do here. So you got the Knights of the Holy Shielding in Greyhawk, and you have representatives of the Order of Ulick in the Shieldlands. You have representatives from the Order of Ulick in the Shieldlands. You have Jelaine Chaucer, who's very upset because she's been secretly in love with David Gravis all this time. David freed her in an adventure a long time ago. She's an NPC of mine. She has a Warlord Blade of the Shieldlands, and she's a member of the Order of Ulick, but she's like the liaison across. So she's really upset now that he got married to Ashley. But some win, some lose. You have the Free Reavers running around. You have the Worshippers of Foltis now. I've introjected them. The adventuring groups we have up there, we have the Legion, super high level group. Some of them played in the events before David Garvis's wedding, and Railstone's one of them. A couple of Allens were in that. Did you use it? Who'd you use in the Bill, who'd you have?
I used Keep Group people. I had Sasha and Annalise.
Oh, you had both them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I think that fit better because it was based of a holy.
Yeah, that was kind of a request. So.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Naz. And that's the way it happens sometimes too. Depending on the DM, you're going to get a different set of pre-rules, different set of ways you got to play, and it's understandable. EA's troops are all over the place still, but not in that great of number. It's wavering a bit. Think about this. One thing about the Foltest people, they don't take shit from EA's, right? So if they're in there, they're actually, and then you got to worry about them getting rid of them after the fact. But I'd rather have them in there than EA's people any day of the week. And one thing about them is they're the highest morale fighters you can have anywhere. They don't break. So having Foltest worshippers in the area is not a bad thing.
They believe in the blinding light.
They believe in the blinding light. Yes. So
should they?
It's a very very good thing to have, throwing them in a little bit wrench-wise. So, and then some other things you have. I throw an occasional offbeat group in through there, through the Ravagers in there once, and like I said, some Dark Elves here and there. But basically, we're at a point now: is where do we go? Right, that's the question. Where do we go from here? Right, for Shieldlands. So I put some questions down. What happens next?
Ethan and Ashley go riding into the sunset, and I'm done with it at that point. I don't care.
Yes, I can see that. I can definitely see that, where you want to go and you want to just go off into the sunset. But remember, David and Ashley are older now. They're in their 50s, right?
Yeah.
It's just it took that long. Think about it. That courtship started in 1987. It's 2018. That's 31 years of real life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just insane that, I drug that out for 31 years, man.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was your fault. You drug it out.
I haven't done anything at all with. I know you mentioned that, but no. See, there's a lot of things that we're gonna talk about, some ideas and share some cross stories, and I guarantee you're gonna really help me invigorate some things because we came up with some good stuff. So, yeah, absolutely some great discussion last night, and we'll continue that definitely. I'm really excited about that.
I'll tell you one thing, because I know the canon story that Homer is actually in Dorica. You gotta go through Ea's the Evil, I believe, if I remember correctly. Or
it's a module.
The
City of Skulls.
not Ea's the Evil. It's
City of Skulls.
Yeah, City of Skulls.
Yeah, and you want to have neutral people go in so they can't detect you. They don't have a bunch of druids and stuff and go in. I never went there. I just saw that as an adventure that didn't fit our campaign. I mean, it looks extremely difficult, and but maybe one day. But after all these years, is he really going to be alive still at this point? Right.
Well, never know. I mean, it just depends on how Katarina feels about it. So.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, we've never discussed that with her. No one has. That's true. I'm thinking that we're going to do and I'm glad I have these pictures up. We're going to do a return to Walrus Crossing / Light Sleep Reclaimed Pillar and see what's going on. I think that's going to be the next one we're going to do. We're going to go back. It's been a few months, game time, and we're going to go back and figure out what is going on there and and go from there on that adventure. And of course, I think the Free Reavers are going to make an appearance again in the near future. If there's anything that can fight the Legion, which is a very powerful mercenary group, it's the Free Reavers, right? Because, I mean, the Legion has a Wild Mage, 12-level Wild Mage, a Quasi-Elementalist who's nasty, a Fire Elementalist who's nasty, a unbelievable Elven Cavalier, a Cavalier, Cure, a Cleric Mage who's super high level, Railstone, Waltz guys, I haven't even mentioned any of those, right? Axe, it's sick. So that's a sick adventuring group that's really nasty as far as really damage output. So I think we'll run some things with them running up. So I'm looking here to see if there's any.
Well, and I got one more for you.
Okay.
So I remember a long time ago, and I think you've run it twice. The Bane of the Shadowborn.
I did run that. Yeah, I did run that twice. That's out of a dungeon.
Yeah, and there's a tie there between them and the Shieldlands and the Gradivus family, and I want to say it's one of Bill's characters, isn't it?
Alistrina.
Yeah, that has an actual tie to it. Seeing something that would progress from that would actually be a pretty neat.
Did you share a photo, Bill?
Not intentionally.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I can look back into that, but that wasn't Bill Haley's. That was Bill Allenfeld's character.
I was
Alistrina.
Alistrina, yeah.
Yeah, that was Alistrina.
What was the name of the demon or whatever it was?
Yeah, and I think that was a Ravenloft crossover that I placed in the Shieldlands, and it had some. You know how Ravenloft really screws things up with when you cross planes over, and it kind of made you like distantly related to Alistrina because of the way I ran it. So,
right.
So you had an elven blood tie in there. But once again, with that player not in, I don't know if I want to reconnect that. But that was pretty cool. There were some fantastic in the early days. There were some fantastic dungeon adventures that were right for Greyhawk. That was one I'm not sure specifically because it was Rainloft, but I tied it in. So
right.
So some other key Shieldlanders we haven't talked about. Let's talk about some other lower level characters. We just saw two of them last Thursday night, Nicole and Selegna, right?
Yeah.
So you have two Nicole Breckenridge and Selegna Zanera, whatever. Explain them real quick.
Yeah. So early on, and I actually wasn't a part of it. So when you ran the battle system rules, I was not there. I had actually returned to Ohio at that point.
Okay.
But I had given you the keep that David was actually installing inside of the Shieldlands. And from what I understand, there were all sorts of people, refugees and so forth, that flocked to him, and he kept them safe. And so I kind of played on that to say that Nicole and Selegna were two very young people that were very impressed by what actually happened, and kind of grew, over time, just grew up from there, and essentially wanted to give back some, as they were given, with all the kindness and so forth that the Gradivus family showed them. And so David had taken them and said, look, you need to put yourself down. There's a city down south past Cowerwood called Altamira. And
Altamira.
Establish yourself there.
Go ahead. That's an inside joke.
And so they were, it was just a need for a couple of characters. Nicole was always really impressed, kind of looked at David as almost like that father figure. And so she decided to become a specialty priestess of Ilmater. And then Selegna was an undead hunter. And the funny thing is I based him, if you actually read his name backwards, it's Angelus. So I did a little bit of a...
I didn't get that.
He's actually Angel from Buffy. So the funny part about that character is
he's an undead hunter.
He's an undead hunter. The real person, David Borneaz, actually has a bad name, and hence is why that Selegna has a permanent problem with movement rate.
And you guys all saw this in the last 2 weeks in this adventure when they went to Glipdel, and Selegna had the 6 movement rate, even though he has 9 in his armor, and him and the dwarf were so far behind the fight. And like running. Fight's going on, running, and they're fighting the Driders down in the town, running, and they get there, and then we end the night. So it was a lot of running, for them. But this is another thing I'm going to say out to anyone out there who's a DM. You want players that have no problem with hindering their own characters some way for the sake of role-playing or gaming, and Mark does that, and a lot of my players will do that, and it's great. That adds another aspect. It's not all about the power gaming, it's about the character development, which is cool. I mean, a lot of people, it gets lost with our game because of our tabletop style, but there's a lot of depth and forethought to the characters that we have, and it's really yes, thanks, Anna. It's a lot of thought goes into it, And
Well,
maybe
I can't say mature, Anna. You haven't watched this play.
Well, she
There's
said
a lot
she's
of
gonna watch.
immaturity that
She
goes
said she's
on.
going to watch a couple episodes. Said, please note that we are guys playing together, and there's a lot of bad habits going on, and it's, there just is. So
There may be a small amount of fifth grade bathroom humor.
yeah, a
Yeah.
small amount of it too. Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
so
depends on the night and our behavior.
yeah, Anna was saying that she is, she can understand that. So it's cool. I mean, just we got along great. It was just such a fantastic discussion. So I'll bring up one. She's really not one, but she says she is Crystal Gradavis, right? So
Yep.
I have a character who's really crazy. Crazier than most of my female
Yeah,
characters.
she could have starred in Single White Female.
Yes, exactly. Her name was Crystal something else, but she changed her name to Gradavis because she thinks that she is a Gradavis, and she's in a group out of Greyhawk now called which one? Vengeful Justice.
She's in Vengeful Justice.
Lawful
yeah.
neutral Knight of the Holy Shielding class. But if you say anything bad about the Gradavis, David, or Railstone in front of her, even in a public place or a bar, she won't punch you. She will attack you.
Well, the last adventure, she thought about changing her name back because she heard about David getting married.
She heard about David getting married,
Yeah.
but she's hit on Railstone multiple times and tried. Railstone actually took her out to dinner once, right?
Yeah, he was just to be nice and
Yeah.
Lead her
just
on.
to try to give her an opportunity to get to know her better, and
Yeah, but
with no romantic interest behind it. And
That
I
was
think
positive.
she asked. He said that his interest was in Amelia Rothschild.
Amelia Rothschild, which is another NPC
Yeah.
of mine, and she is she's a specialty priestess of Ouija, which is a great mix of characters.
Yes.
It's next some necromancy spells mixed in. It's a fantastic class. So who else has Bill? You don't have any Shieldlanders, do you?
Yeah.
No, I have a couple. Well, Sasha, of course, she's a Shieldlander, and then I have Katrina Wildbrand, who's actually right on the border there. She's a Bandit Kingdom.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
But yeah, I don't really
love
have
the
a lot of. Most of my people are.
That's great then.
So you see that he's like the girl that he got to say I don't mind. I want to play. See, it works, man. Our system works.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's awesome, man. That's great. So give it a shot. Just start her slow into it. Don't start her with anything crazy like with the sacrificing or anything like that. You know what I mean? Just start her slow, and work her way and play in the game. But yeah, Bandit Kingdoms is cool, and I know.
Yeah, we never really do much with it because we didn't really need to.
No,
But like I said, once the Bandit Kingdoms were taken over, her family fled south and ended up in Altamira. Or
Right.
she ended up in Altamira. The family did not.
and if you want a Bandit Kingdoms adventure to watch, and we jointly host each other. Will from Return to the Bandit Kingdoms, he's got a couple things going on there too as well. So I'll give him a plug. Try and help other Greyhawk broadcasters out anytime I can. So
the other one I have Elizabetha.
yeah.
She's a Shieldlander.
Okay, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, she came south because she ended up with someone from the Nomads. Because
Wolf Note. Yes. Okay.
They met on the trail south.
All right. So she's in the Windborn then, right?
No, she's in. No, Elizabeth is my Inquisitor with Victor and Crystal and Crystal.
Oh, okay. She's in Vengeful Justice. I'm sorry,
Vengeful
my bad.
Justice.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So let me write her down, Elizabeth. I didn't remember that. So thank you. See, I don't remember everything.
There's too many characters. When each of us probably has 40 characters.
Yeah.
It's it kind of you lose track after a while.
Well, I have at least 40 dead ones.
I've gotten a little calmer in my older age with that. So some other miscellaneous characters we didn't talk about that much, but you mentioned Sasha Shilvacek. I love that character. She's a straight cavalier. That's Bill's. She's basically the de facto leader of the Keep / Shieldlanders group. She's a member of the Order of the Holy Shielding as well. We talk about Jelaine. Ajun's still running around out there. I may do something with him. We'll see. Ernest Staran, I always am now. I'm throwing in the Fighters of the Light, which is the mercenary name of the group that started out in Greyhawk, are popping up on all our major cities. They're in Harby, they're in Altamira now. So
They're like the snake cult of Set. They're in every city.
the lawful neutrals are making their way through our campaign, which is good because I like because first of all, the Tritherian people can't stand them. They actually hate them as much as they hate the lawful evils. So it's kind of a really cool issue there. So yeah, definitely Foltis, the lawful neutral Foltis and Tritherian cannot stand each other's sight. Just going through my notes here. We talked about so. What I would say is this: if you're looking for a really cool place to just start off something, you can start it right outside Crit Wall, because Crit Wall in Canon has been reclaimed, so you're safe going there. You can start off there, do a lot of cool adventuring. There's always, Ia's troops or some lower level demons, humanoids, or something going on all the time in that area. So.
Yeah, it's a really good spot for if you're into the whole good versus evil concept, and that's where you want to drive stuff. It's and you can drive it on either side, depending on the type of campaign you run. But it's a really cool area to.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you run an evil campaign, you can do evil versus evil there very easily.
Oh yeah,
because you have Horn Society people fighting back. You have Bandit Kingdom people fighting back against Ias. You could do Reavers against any of them. There's a unlimited area and ideas there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we bounce around a lot, and the reason we do that is because that's just the way the style of our game is. So we got groups all over the place, and
we have short attention spans.
Yeah. We don't. We're not like a lot of them do DM up first level up to 12th, and maybe whatever level they go to, and retire and start a new group, and that group's retired. We kind of try and keep them all active, try and grow the base of the campaign itself, and that's why it's been so successful. Because you can always refer back to a guy, and then you got the next generation. We got a whole bunch of kids adventuring. This new group at first we're going to be starting soon. Tom's got Tom the Vindicator Jr. After all these years. Finally, he's going to use that half-elf character. So we bounce around a lot. But the Shieldlands is a great place to come back because you can do low level, mid level, high level. It's all there. You can really develop a lot of great things. And I'm going to be talking with Aaron about some ideas for some things in multiple areas. It's good to talk with someone else to get another perspective on what they're doing and who's really been in the game for so long. So I'm excited about that. So I know we're close to where we want to end up our stop point, but I got a ton of announcements. So why don't we do some of that? Bill, show us what you're making. Bill and Master
Well, you have most of the stuff now that I've done recently.
Yep. So Jay, why don't you expand his window there? That way.
Just I've been working on a lot of winter terrain recently. So this is just another forest set. That's not done yet. I still have a lot of flocking to do. I've done the deep snow, which is actually raised up, so that's done. I have just another archway I'm working on. It's going to be a forest piece, and then a standing stone setup that's also going to be winter pieces.
I know you're going to be late Tuesday. Can I pick that up tomorrow or Tuesday?
Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. Tomorrow, I still have blocking to do on.
Because I know you're going to be late, and I need it. You'll see I need it for dinner. Right. So that's good, Mark.
Pretty tall trees against battle mechs.
And show the figures that you're for the new group. You're rebasing a couple of them too. So.
All right, let me just turn the camera back around again here so I can find them. There's a dwarf that had a very small base, so
there you go.
Some of the chibi trees, I took actually the tree base and hollowed it out. So at least because a lot of our terrain, the stuff won't stand on the hills.
Right.
And then I have an old, and I think it's a Prince August figure.
Right there. That is Tom's character. Yeah. Good.
And I cut the base back off and got a new base for it. So the figure it's actually short for being a half ogre, so I wanted to increase the height a little bit. So
that's Tom's character, Krentar. We got 4 straight fighters starting in this group, which is unbelievable. But a lot of people got a lot of different. I'll squeeze it down a little bit, Mark, so you're back in here. Whoop!
It's okay. I just felt like Bill Bixby in
The Hulk
the
was your
Incredible Hulk
transition.
where I had
That
half
was
my
pretty
face
cool.
gone.
That's awesome. All right, so couple things, guys. Feel like it. Take that quiz and the poll thing. I'd appreciate it just to get a feel of where everyone is. Please go to the events button up top. I got stuff. There's 8 things lined up. First thing, tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Mark starts with his group Slap. Go for it.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Okay, so they are doing the siege at Bordrin.
Origins Watch, right?
Bordrin's Watch, and so it is a new adventure that they're actually doing. A lot of role play should be happening tomorrow. I've got some interesting things, some twists that are going to be coming in. But it is part of the Scales of War. It's actually the next series in the Scales of War. I'm really, really impressed by how that pans itself out. And I think it is actually going to help a lot in a lot of our crossover stuff. So I got some ideas of things that you're going to hear tomorrow that will actually go into some of the crossover.
That is awesome. I am so excited about that.
Yeah.
So we got and I'll be jumping in with Candace, my bandit,
Yes.
on that. So that is from 6 to 9 tomorrow. That's the Adventures of Slap, and then Tuesday night. All right, so we're off on. It's Thanksgiving Thursday. No D&D game this week. We are going to, for the first time, and this is not D&D, but I think it'll be cool because I've not seen a single individual or single anyone. We are going to stream a Mech Warrior / BattleTech game. We're going to get back. We haven't done it in like 5 years. We're going to get back and play. The Black Riders is a group, mercenary group. If anyone has ever played BattleTech, we're going to get out the old mech figures. We're going to get that out. It's going to be on Solaris 7. We're going to use. I got some new mats coming. We're going to have a winter terrain scene, and we're going to do that and stream that just for everyone. It's going to be like a bonus thing. We won't do it that often, but I figured, it's a holiday week coming up, so we have nothing planned D&D wise because of Thanksgiving. So, but a lot of people can make it Tuesday, and we're going to do that and run that and see where it goes, see the interest on it, because no one's doing it. I mean, it's no one's playing it and no one's streaming it, so we're going to give it a shot here and try it just to see. It's perfect for what we do on our table. And that's one of the reasons why I have the GeoHex. The GeoHex was used for BattleTech, but I've converted it to use for D&D. So then you go from that date, from Tuesday, and I don't think we have anything till Sunday. Here's my big announcement. So Anna Meyer's on. If you do not know Anna Meyer, Anna, please link your site in the chat, please. Anna is the creator of the Greyhawk Map, cartography that are unbelievable. And so next Sunday's Gabbin, 7:30. Anna will be my. There you go. Please take a look at that. It's unbelievable stuff. I mean, it's so compared to what I have up here. It's night and day. It's fantastic, and she's it's completely well respected throughout the entire D&D community. Does a lot of commission work for some other companies, but her passion is Greyhawk, and so she's going to be my special guest next Sunday night's Gabbin, 7:30. My guess is it'll go 2 hours because both of Anna and I like to talk. So I have a feeling it'll be a 2-hour one, and I don't think anyone will complain about it with having Anna here. And we're not only going to talk about the map, and we're going to talk about what we do on our map and what she has up that may be different. That's one of the things we're going to do. We're going to go over our areas that we use and what actually is different on her map. I want her to tell a lot of the stories about her campaign too, so you get another aspect from another DM. From another player in another world. She told me some great stories last night, and I was like, "Oh, that's an awesome idea." So I'm looking forward to this discussion, and Mark and Bill will participate in that as well. I think it'll be a great night. I guarantee it'll be our highest rated Gabbin ever. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a great thing. So I'll put that announcement out. It's on the events list already. Next Sunday. After that, we go to Mark has an off Monday. Mark and I will do a crossover again, probably on what happened in Bordrin's Watch. And then next Thursday, the Thursday after Thanksgiving, I have no idea what I'm running D&D wise yet, because that's the day before PAX Unplugged starts. And I am DMing at PAX Unplugged Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Walt is going to go and play and assist me Friday morning if he's still on. Thank you. And so I got a busy weekend, man. That weekend is going to be packed. So my Gabbin that Sunday will be PAX Unplugged, the little observations of what I saw, other DMs, other stories I could share about PAX. So we got a lot going on in the next couple weeks. It's loaded with some great content. So please, tomorrow night, if you can, catch Mark's game. The really cool thing about it is the style's a little different than mine. Mark's a different DM. Same rules we use for the most part, but he's got that great table setting. And so I'm assuming you're going to have a lot of terrain out this time.
There's going to be probably a little bit. Just depends on what time I get to get things set up. Most of it is probably more on the intrigue side, because they're going to be going to a new city with some new things that are going to be going on. Some new groups, new adventuring groups that are actually plugged into it. And another new area that they haven't been to yet. It's one of the areas that we explore an awful lot out in the Lort Mills, but close to Emstad. So it's just right. In fact, I was looking at Anna's maps earlier today to see, how I might be able to utilize, some of the pieces in it to actually show my players whereabouts that they're going to be. So.
Yeah, it's. I'm excited about it because it's going to be another step, and I have a character who's basically an interactor for. She's an all-world headhunter out there. Bladestorm's. Bladestorm found her as an orphan child and raised her up, and basically, I don't want to use Bladestorm in this, so I'm using this character Candace instead. So 4th level, bandit. So she's just basically a background character. So it'll be cool. And so anyone have any final thoughts, man? This is a great one. I appreciate everyone really jumping in. Thanks, Anna, for watching. Thanks all the regulars here, Jeff and Naz and Sprocket. And if I missed someone, please, I'm sorry. And Tom and Walt and Celestian. You guys have all been I really appreciate you hopping in. We'll talk beforehand on what we're going to do next Sunday and get it all set up. But what do you think, guys? Any final thoughts? Shieldlands, great place. Great place.
Yeah, absolutely great
place.
It took 31 years for a courtship to actually happen.
A fantastic place. I promise this. We will eventually do a Gabbin on Altamira. The problem is we don't have a city map for our city. So that's something else that maybe Anna can help me out with. We need someone. I know a couple people who can do cities, but we need a city map done for it. I mean, I did one in old, what was that, Campaign Cartographer years ago. I lost it. I don't know. It was awful. It was thank you, because I don't know what I'm doing. It was brutal. But we need someone. I don't know if it's Dyson or if it's Devin Rue or I think it's Francesca Brerold. I've seen some great stuff she does get a commission, or if Anna does city maps either. But we need the city worked up, and we're waiting to do a Gabbin show when we had that. So, all right. Thanks, Naz. I appreciate you guys all hanging in there. It's been a good night. I know there's a lot going on. For everyone, please, if you can. I mean, Mark's really doing a great job with tomorrow night. I know it's early. 6 p.m. is a little tough for it's a weird time slot, but it's still, if you can catch any of it, you get to see me play and not be a DM too. So I mean, that's worth it, and that's worth the price of admission. That's
oh yeah, it's be great.
All right, guys. So you got events are up. Take the quiz. Do that. If you have any other questions, please, you can ask me anytime. You can find me on here. You can leave me a message. Like I said, any of the reference materials you want, I'd be more than happy to share them. We've shared a lot of stuff with a lot of the players. And once again, our sponsor is Miniature Building Authority. Oh, last thing, Miniature Building Authority. I got a new collage ad coming up for Tuesday for them. The next Miniature Building Authority giveaway is Thursday, December 6th. If you're a subscriber, we have a point system where you accrue points. And that's a $75 gift certificate from NBA. But if you're a follower, you don't need to do anything but be on. We usually do 11 p.m. Eastern. that evening. It's $25 gift certificate to MBA, and we just do a random drawing for that. So once again, Thursday, December 6th is our next drawing for Miniature Building Authority. Go check their site out. It's linked right on my panel. Great stuff. They got this new sci-fi building stuff that needs to be painted. So Bill's going to be painting some more stuff shortly. He doesn't even know it.
Yeah.
He doesn't even, for our BattleTech stuff. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Anna. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week for a great show where Anna will be our guest. So thank you, and I'll see you all tomorrow night. Siege of Borden's Watch. Have a good one. Thank you. Keep on playing.
See you, everybody.
Have a good night.